Pats Nation, Patriots football is right around the bend because our New England Patriots have officially taken back to the practice field for the start of OTAs, the organized team activities. Today we're going to be breaking down everything that happened here in day one, and I say day one in quotations because technically this is the second day of OTAs for the team. They started on Monday, but today is the first day that was open to the media. These OTA sessions, they're not going to be like mandatory minicamp where the media is there every single day. It's not like training camp where the media is there every single day. We only get certain glimpses into OTAs every, few days, every few OTA practices. So this is our first real look at the team. Now, the team did, of course, have mandatory rookie minicamp where the rookie class from the guys that were drafted to the UDFAs, of course, participated, but we didn't get to see the real starters. Christian Barour wasn't there. The free agents weren't there. Drake Maye wasn't there. It was simply the rookies. This is our first look at the team that has officially come together. So we're going to be breaking down every last little piece of news that the media gave us. Without further ado, let's just go right ahead and hop into this. Now, starting off here with just a couple of general notes. Who was there? Who wasn't there? And is this anything ultimately to worry about? Now, guys that were absent or were there, but just not participating, was Rhamondre Stevenson. And I want to say a lot of people are going to get on him in the comment section. Why wasn't Rhamondre Stevenson there? They drafted Trayvon Henderson in the second. They signed Antonio Gibson to a long-term deal in free agency last year. Could he be on the outside looking in? The answer is no. Unfortunately, and prayers up to him, Rhamondre Stevenson's dad did pass away back in March. So the reason that he's not there is personal reasons. Mike Vrabel understands that. And Mike Vrabel even said that Rhamondre Stevenson is a big piece to what they want to do offensively. So don't worry about that. And everyone just flood the comment sections of Rhamondre Stevenson with nothing but love. Now, Stefon Diggs ultimately wasn't there also. No surprise. He's a veteran. He's also coming back from injury, so I'm not surprised that he wasn't there nor participating. Matt Collins, I believe he was there, but he wasn't participating. Sidney Sohm sounds like maybe he's coming back from injury. Joshua Farmer, who the Patriots drafted in the 4th round, was not participating also. And then Marte Mapu also not participating. Guys that were there practicing but were limited were Jalen Polk. Let's keep in mind he got surgery at the end of the season. Sounds like a shoulder injury, so he's still coming back from that a little bit. You got Morgan Moses, Vidarian Lowe, Mike Lonwenu, Jared Wilson, the rookie, Jaquelin Roy. You got Jaharve Ritz, Jabril Peppers, and Kyle Duggar. Great news, though, is that the Patriots had Christian Barour there. He wasn't on the limited report. He wasn't on the absent, not participating list. So the Patriots, for the start of OTAs, got Christian Barour back as a full participant. Now, in general, it was reported that this practice was a lot more competitive for an OTA practice than we have seen in recent years. Look, it can only be so competitive, right? And somebody from the NFLPA was there for the start of the Patriots OTAs, essentially just making sure the Patriots knew, hey, you can't have contact. You can't tackle guys. Guys can't be going down to the ground. And it sounded like the guy from NFLPA actually had to go to Mike Vrabel and tell him multiple times, those guys can't be doing that. In fact, he got a little physical with Mike Vrabel at one point. And it was like, dude, this, they cannot do. He was showing them, Vrabel, you got to tell your players they cannot be tugging on each other like that and going down to the ground. So there's a little bit of frustration there. But again, it's OTAs and the team does ultimately have to follow the NFL rules. Now, overall, the defense won today as you would expect, right? The defense for the Patriots is ultimately what is better. It's what is more consistent right now. The offense is what's still straining together. They're going to be piecing that together as time goes on. The offense just had a lot of miscommunications. They had slip-ups. Again, everything you would expect from this team early on. Now, Mike Vrabel was also working primarily with the offense today, something that me personally, I'm perfectly fine with that. Everybody thinks of Mike Vrabel as the defense guy. He should be working with the defense, especially with Terrell Williams out. I'm more than fine if Mike Vrabel wants to work with the offense because this is an offense-minded league, right? I think you feel pretty confident about where the Patriots defense is, especially with the amount of veterans there. This offense is so damn brand new with the majority of young guys. That's what right now needs the most attention. Now, getting on into each of these positions, starting off here with the quarterbacks, 11 on 11s, Drake Maye struggled big time today. 11 for 16, 4 interceptions. a lot of people are going to get on him for this. I already see it circulating around the media. I mentioned this in my TikTok. I also mentioned on the short I uploaded on the channel today is that do not worry. Do not freak out. Do not panic about what is going on with Drake Maye because there's nothing truly to look into. It is a day one OTA practice. Again, this is a brand new team with a brand new head coach, a brand new identity. This is a brand new offensive coordinator that Drake Maye's never worked with. None of these players in this offense have ever worked with before, really outside of Ramondre Stevenson and Kendrick Bourne. The offense is going to have its slip-ups. It is going to have to progress as time goes on. So yes, Drake Maye is not going to be on the same page as maybe Josh McDaniels, as some of these wide receivers. So the fact that he did struggle today a little bit, that's fine. There's nothing to worry about. If Drake Maye is struggling this much once pads come on in training camp, okay, now we start to worry a little bit. If he goes out there in the preseason and he starts throwing 2 interceptions a game, now we start to worry a little bit. But right now, I'm telling you, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Now, Joshua Dobbs went 7 for 13, while Woolridge went 3 for 8. Didn't sound like he got a lot of opportunities. And then overall, there were also no 7-on-7 opportunities for the Patriots today. It was just the 11-on-11s. Now, speaking of Drake Maye, those 4 interceptions came within his first 6 passes. So he started off a little bit rough. Some of the interceptions from what was reported weren't even necessarily on him. Like some of the interceptions that were made by some of these Patriots defensive backs were just really, really good plays. One of them was by Christian Gonzalez. It looked like Drake Maye was going to Kyle Williams deep down the field, a beautiful pass, wide open Kyle Williams, and Gonzo makes up like 40 yards, has the speed, gets there over the shoulder of Kyle Williams and just intercepts the ball. The other one was by Craig Woodson, the rookie defensive back, and this was just a tip drill. Alex Austin gets his hands on the ball, ball flies up in the air, Craig Woodson makes a play. The same types of plays that we saw Craig Woodson making consistently at the collegiate level. Some bad interceptions from Drake Maye early on, but he finished pretty strong at the end of practice, going 7 for 8 ultimately in his progressions. Now, moving on to the running backs, Patriots rookie second-round pick Trayvon Henderson had a pair of catches from Drake Maye in team drills. From what's being said, from rookie minicamp, from day one of OTAs, the speed of Trayvon Henderson is really, really showcasing itself. I mean, even if you've seen videos of this guy circulating on Twitter, on the Patriots YouTube channel, you can see that this guy has speed and he's going to be a difference maker in this offense. Like what the Patriots have in Trayvon Henderson is something that they've not had in a while. And there is a lot of excitement there, both from the fan base and inside the Patriots organization for obvious reasons. Moving on to the wide receiver, Kyle Williams sounded like he was pretty involved today. He beat Craig Woodson down the sidelines on a deep ball from Drake Maye. He was also targeted on 2 of Drake Maye's interceptions. Now, Jayvon Baker had a pretty good play today. He was standing out a little bit. He beat Christian Gonzalez, which nobody was beating Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez was like the guy of practice today, but Jayvon Baker was able to beat him on a deep ball from Drake Maye, which what was reported was the catch of the day. Jayvon Baker, for all the fans out there, he went out and he made the catch of the day. Now, does that move the needle? Not really. He's going to have to continue to do this, but at least a good start for Jayvon Baker. Sounded like that coverage, too, from Christian Gonzalez was really, really good, but it was just the catch from Jayvon Baker ultimately was just even better. Now, Favon Chisum, for all the Favon Chisum fans out there, the UDFA wide receiver, really good day for him. It sounds like he was a standout among the backup wide receivers. In fact, he was the standout among the backup wide receivers. He basically caught everything that went his way. He saw the ball come his way a ton today, and he's building on these practices early on. Now, the practices this early in the process, they don't necessarily matter. He's going to need to start building on training camp when the pads go on in the preseason, when it matters the most, if he's going to ultimately make the 53-man roster. But he was building on practices in rookie minicamp, looked good there, and he's now doing the same thing at OTAs. This is a good start for Favon Chisum, for all the Favon Chisum fans out there. Now, moving on to tight ends, Hunter Henry and Drake Maye had a nice connection over the middle of the field in team competitive drills. Overall, Hunter Henry just sounds like he's been that reliable player here for the Patriots early on, which, look, There was a streak in 2021. It was year one of Hunter Henry, Josh McDaniels, Mac Jones, and there was like 6 or 8 consecutive games where Hunter Henry had a touchdown. So you know that Josh McDaniels is going to want to get him involved. Josh McDaniels was iconic for running those 2 tight end sets, that 12 personnel, Gronk and Hernandez, Gronk and Martellus Bennett. You had Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. So I think this is going to be another massive, massive year for Hunter Henry. Now, moving on to the offensive line. Look, let's be honest. This is the biggest question mark surrounding this Patriots team heading into 2025. Is it the sexiest thing? No, but it, of course, is something we need to keep a close eye on. Now, unfortunately, with OTA practices, like I said, it's very stagnant. We get media availability for one practice this week. We'll get it from what's reported next Wednesday will be the next one. So we don't know how these guys performed yesterday, what the rotation was yesterday compared to today, what it's going to be like tomorrow. That's why mandatory minicamp and training camp are so valuable and so important to see what are the different, transitions from each day. What are the different lineups? How do players ultimately bounce back on a day-to-day basis? But at least for today, the starting offensive line from left to right. So from left tackle was Will Campbell, Cole Strange at left guard, Garrett Bradbury as your starting center, Michael Onwenu as your starting right guard, and then, of course, Morgan Moses as your starting right tackle. No surprise here. It wouldn't surprise me if this is what the Patriots starting offensive line ultimately looked like. It sounds like Garrett Bradbury has been a really, really good veteran in the building for these young guys. He's taken the time to make sure they know what's going on. He's teaching up these young guys if they have questions, during reps, at the end of reps, in beginning of practice, at the end of practice, staying a little bit late. The same damn thing for Morgan Moses. So Garrett Bradbury early on, while there isn't official captain, seems like he is taking on that leadership role. And look, we don't know what's going to happen with Jared Wilson. Does he become the starting center for the Patriots right away? Maybe there's a possibility, but if Garrett Bradbury can at least be average, he is not a liability on that offensive line. If he continues to be this much of a leader, I don't think it's going to be much of a competition. I think that he ultimately will be your starting center. But again, too early to say for certain. Interesting that the number one guy we've seen so far was Cole Strange at left guard. Now, I do think he is the runner-up, former first-round pick. I think he's very athletic. Some reports coming out, too, that he looks like he put on some weight. And when I say weight, I mean muscle. Looks like he's a little bit more jacked up, a little bit more durable. That's exactly what he's going to need. He's had those question marks about staying healthy and that durability. So putting on an extra few pounds of muscle could go a long way for him. I think he could fit very, very well in this offense under Josh McDaniels. But again, is he going to be the starting left guard come next OTA practice? That is going to be one of my biggest questions. Or are they kind of just rotating those guys? We'll just ultimately have to see. Now, in some full team drills where some players were limited, there was other top offensive line combinations. So while that was the top O-line combination, they did try a couple of other things. So it does also sound like so the second team offensive line, from what it sounds like from left to right, was Will Campbell, Wes Schweitzer, Garrett Bradbury, Cole Strange at right guard instead of Onwenu, which is really interesting. I mean, we've seen Cole Strange at center and left guard, but we have never seen Cole Strange as a right guard. Something interesting we're seeing with him for the first time. And then Caden Wallace starting there over at right tackle. Like I said, Morgan Moses several times being pointed out, giving pointers to players, which has been really, really important. And then Wes Schweitzer saw a lot of reps today as the top backup interior offensive lineman. A lot of talk about him being a guy that could be the starting left guard for the Patriots. We saw pictures so far this offseason during other practices that weren't open to the media where Wes Schweitzer looked like he was the starting left guard running with the top unit. But right now, maybe it looks like Cole Strange is in that role. And maybe Wes Schweitzer is a guy that does make the final roster, but is more of a backup. He can substitute in at center. He can substitute in at left guard or right guard, which, of course, does hold a lot of value. Now, moving on here to the defensive side of the football with the defensive line, Keon White had a sack today. He looked pretty good from what was reported, kind of going back and forth with some of these other defensive linemen, kind of just, hey, I see what you're doing. You should try this. What do you think about what I'm doing? Just kind of swapping some different techniques, which I think is really valuable. Something that I heard today from, I forget who it was in the media, but I thought it was the coolest thing is that the offensive line is actually giving pointers to the defensive line saying, hey, as an offensive lineman, this is what I'm seeing. You should try these different techniques, helping these defensive linemen see it from an offensive line perspective and vice versa. The defensive line helping the offensive line see it from a D-line perspective. So just a cool little tidbit that I wanted to let you guys know about. Now, rookie 5th-round pick, edge rusher, Braden Swinson, popped off a couple of times today, right? And I said, even when they drafted him as a guy that was a projected 2nd-round pick in the NFL draft, if he pops off early, like I said, still a lot of time to go. But I said, if he pops off early, it would not surprise me if he pushes somebody like Trayvon Chisum off the roster. This is a storyline to watch as we get into mandatory minicamp and, of course, training camp, which is really not all that far away. But Braden Swinson was able to get a couple of quarterback pressures along with forcing a fumble. And then probably the best news we got from the defense was that, like I said earlier, Christian Barmore was back. He was a full participant. He was looking good. Now we just, as Patriots fans and just as people, we pray to God that Christian Barmore is okay. He doesn't relapse and everything goes well because, my God, a healthy Christian Barmore and Milton Williams is exactly what this defensive line needs. And can you imagine a healthy Christian Barmore and Milton Williams, what that's going to do for the secondary, what that's going to do for Christian Gonzalez? We talked about him being a top 10 cornerback over the last 2 years. Patriots haven't had a very good defensive coordinator over the last 2 years. Really haven't had much going on from a defensive perspective the last 2 years. Neither have they had a pass rush over the last 2 years. What is Gonzo going to look like with real defensive leadership and an actual pass rush? I'm really, really excited to see what that can look like. As for the linebackers, really nothing to say other than Robert Spillane wearing the visor. My God, I'm all for it. I mean, we need a petition to make sure that Robert Spillane does not just keep the visor during practices. We need this. We absolutely need this as Patriots fans to be a thing every single game day, because if that happens, my God, is he going to become a quick fan favorite here in New England. Moving on, though, here to the secondary. As for the cornerbacks, Christian Gonzalez with 2 interceptions, both of which were on Drake Maye. From what was said, he was the player today. Like, overall, not just defensively, Christian Gonzalez was the player of the day today. Sounds like he has that chip on his shoulder still, and he's heading into 2025 with that. Pass breakups, you had Alex Austin with 1. Keep in mind that pass breakup went to a Craig Woodson interception. And then you had Marcus Jones with a cornerback blitz today. He had a sack today, which was cool. Kind of gives you insight on what they're trying to do with this defense a little bit, just how aggressive they want to be. As for the safeties, like I said, Craig Woodson with an interception, but you also had the UDFA from last year in Del Pettis also have an interception today. Going to be really interesting to see that battle there with the safeties, who makes it, who doesn't. Craig Woodson flashed at times last year, but was inconsistent. Is he somebody, again, as a UDFA from last year, that can squeeze back onto the 53-man roster? Definitely something to watch. Now, Craig Woodson and Jalen Hawkins both saw a lot of reps today with what is projected to be the starting defense. They got a lot of reps with Peppers and Duggar today, so that is a storyline to watch also during these off-season workouts, because Marcus Epps wasn't talked about today. The Patriots have a lot of guys who can play in that free safety role. So far, haven't heard anything about Marcus Epps. And then lastly here, wrapping it up with special teams, we got some kicking stats, baby. Andy Borregales is in the building, and boy, oh boy, is he here. For all of you that said, why would they use a 6th-round pick on a kicker? First off, why are we complaining about a 6th-round pick? Next off, this is why. This is exactly why. Now, again, early on in the process, but from what was reported, they were going from roughly 40 to 50 yards today. That was their kicking distance. And Andy Borregales went a perfect 4 for 4. Doesn't sound like any of his kicks were, inconsistent, really anything to worry about. But then John Parker Romo went 2 for 4, and his misses were bad. They were reported as just absolute shanks. John Parker Romo not looking good at all. Patriots drafted Andy Borregales in the 6th round as the best kicker in the draft. That was the projection, right? That he was the best kicker in the draft. And so far, you can see exactly why the Patriots used a draft pick in order to get him. As for the kick returners today, they were Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, Favon Chisum, and Marcus Jones. Not too much to say about that. Big fans of those returners. I would like to see maybe Isaiah Bolden get in the mix a little bit as a returner too. A guy who, when he was a 7th-round pick by the Patriots 2 years ago, was one of the best in the nation as a returner. Maybe we can finally see what he can do, in that area. But guys, this is where I kick it to you. This was a recap for the New England Patriots. Day 1 of OTAs, technically day 2, but first day open to the media. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, especially on TikTok, which I'm posting a lot of Patriots and NFL content on every single day at Patriots Global. You can see all the handles right down there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel right now at Patriots Global, just right down there below, and leave a big like on the video on your way out. But as always, guys, I appreciate you so much for watching. And until next video, go Pats.